I'm a teacher and an encourager by gift. What I love to do is to take the truths of God's word and encourage you with it and share it with you and invite us all to do it together. And my goal is, man, let's walk out of here going, wow, that was a good truth. That was good encouragement. That was a good time. But there are some truths in the scripture that are hard truths. There are some things that Jesus said that are difficult, that they're heavy. They call us to wrestle with deep things. Jesus said this about truth. He said, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I'm going to suggest that he's not talking about the light, easy truth. He's talking about the hard, difficult, heavy truth. Today is going to have a piece of that. In fact, the first third of this teaching, you're going to think, where's Pastor Dan? Can he come back? Because I'm going to go straight at something that Jesus said to us. The second third is going to be a little bit lighter, but the third part, it's going to set us free. It's going to set us free. So let's jump right in. Buckle up, turn to the person next to you and say, get ready, baby. Go ahead. Call him baby. If you haven't called anybody baby in church lately, you need to. I am a person who loves watching good television commercials. So Super Bowl is just a highlight for me, mostly because my Chiefs managed to keep showing up. But it's also a highlight for me because it's just like the marketers go out of their way to come up with creative commercials and creative slogans. And they are brilliant at this, these marketers. Let me show it to you. I'm just going to mention the slogan, and you can tell me the product. Who says melts in your mouth, not in your hand? That's M&M's. One credit card claims to be it's everywhere you want to be. Anybody know? That is Visa. Yeah. BMW says they're the ultimate driving machine. Who says just do it? Clearly Nike. It keeps going and going and going. That is the Energizer Bunny specifically. They're advertising the battery, but all I remember is the bunny. And how about you're in good hands with Allstate? That guy has the voice of God. These marketers get it. What slogan would Jesus use? I'm not sure it would be clever. I'm not sure it'd even be attractive, because I think if we were honest, the slogan would be, come and die. Come follow me and give up your life. Come follow me, take up your cross. Come follow me, deny yourself. We're in a 5-week series called Followers. This is week 3. Let's review week 1 and 2 because we've all slept since then, and I wasn't here either week, so it's good for me to be reminded what Pastor Eric talked about in week 1. We looked at information versus intimacy. And in this series, we're looking at the difference in a fan of Jesus versus a follower of Jesus. Fans know about Jesus. Followers really know him. They actually know him well. In week 2, we looked at what you see versus who I am. Fans look good on the outside. Followers look good on the inside. Here's a preview of next week. Pastor Eric will be teaching about denying yourself in order to follow Jesus. And we're going to see that most of us come to Christ as consumers. We come to Jesus for what he can do for us. We stay in Jesus for what we get to do for him. We move from being a consumer to being a contributor. Today, the title is Take Up Your Cross. And here's the unusual piece. The verse we're going to tear apart today is found in all 4 Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all record these words from Jesus. They only do that about 24 times. So it's kind of like God says, I want you to get this. So I'm going to tell you once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Now, in my house growing up, if mama told you something 4 times, boy, you better pay attention. That meant sit up, shut up, do what I'm telling you to do. 4 times. God is telling us that this is big. Jesus said this, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. You will very rarely hear me recommend a book for you to read. I'm about to. This series is based on a book called Not a Fan. The book is written by Kyle Idleman, one of my favorite pastors. This is literally one of my top 5 reads of all time. I'm telling you, get this book, Not a Fan. Here's what I love. He's a humorous pastor and writer who will have you laughing yourself silly 1 minute and then slam you with the truth the next. He gets you going and then he just sticks the knife in. And he gets you going again and he sticks it in again. And it's just this amazing book that looks at the difference in being a fan of Jesus versus being a true follower. So if you're taking notes today in the app, you can write this in. All of us are fans at times. All of us. The goal is to be a wholehearted follower. The goal is to be all in. Jesus said, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. So here's the big idea for today's teaching. A follower makes a decision every day to follow Jesus. Every day. It doesn't let up. It doesn't stop. It is an everyday thing. That is what it means. So let's look at what it is literally to take up your cross every day. First, take up your cross every day means come and die. It means come and die. That is the invitation of Jesus. Now, we're a little bit lost on that in the 21st century. In the 21st century, the cross is a piece of jewelry. Some of you are wearing a necklace today or earrings. The cross is a symbol that might be on the outside of a church building or might be on the inside of a church building. The cross is a piece of art, or the cross is a tattoo. Is there anything wrong with the cross being those modern things? Not at all. Not at all. My son, who is this 6'1" ox of a man, has 4 tattoos, and I'm proud of all 4 of them. The first 2 are the palm prints of his twins that were preemies and survived it, and they're on each of his arms. It's just really cool. Right above it on this arm, he has a Roman cross. Huge thing. Very, very ornate. A piece of art. But across his shoulders, which are about this broad, he has a life-size replica of the crossbeam of the cross with a life-size hand and a spike in it and blood streaming from it. It is gruesome and awesome at the same time. There's nothing wrong with the cross as jewelry or tattoo or symbol or art. But in the first century, the cross was none of those things. We've kind of been desensitized to what it was to have a cross, to carry a cross, as Jesus said. You didn't carry a cross unless you were about to die. That's the only people that carried a cross. Rome punished the Jews by crucifixion. The cross was a symbol of several things. First, it was a symbol of humiliation. It said to the Jewish prisoner, you have no power, you have no rights, you have no authority. We will kill you if we choose to. At one point during Jesus' day, they crucified 2,000 Jews on a single road on a single day. It was Rome's way of saying, we will put our foot on the back of your neck and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, how does it translate for us? I think it means that we have to be willing to have humility. that we have to be willing to be humiliated. It is a symbol of humiliation. The cross is also a symbol of suffering. The Roman tradition was before they nailed you to a cross, they would beat you. And they would use a particular whip for it. It's the same one they used on Jesus. It's called a cat of nine tails. Let me describe it to you. It's 9 pieces of leather that are woven together in a 15-inch handle that's about this big around. But then the 5 or 6 feet that are left are individual whips. And each one has pieces of metal in it, pieces of bone woven into it. And the one with the whip would swing it at the back of a prisoner, and it would literally round the body, chest and back, and those pieces of metal and bone would stick, and then the guy with the whip would rip it off. By law, you could only give somebody 39 lashes because they learned the hard way that 40 or 50 would kill the prisoner. This is what they did to Jesus. It is a symbol of suffering. And then to make it worse, once your back is beaten raw, they would place the 150-pound cross on your back and force you to carry it to the place where you would be executed. You see, in our country, we think that we suffer if somebody doesn't like us for our faith, or if somebody makes fun of us for our faith, or if somebody doesn't treat us right for our faith. I have traveled to places in the world where claiming to be a Christian can get you killed. In fact, there have been more martyrs for Christ, more people killed for their faith in the last 120 years than in the first 19 centuries of Christianity. The cross is a symbol of humiliation. It's also a symbol of suffering. Jesus is asking, are we willing to be humbled? Are we willing to suffer? But lastly, the cross is a symbol of death. You didn't carry a cross unless you were going to die. It was a symbol of death. The outcome was you will die. Jesus takes the most despised, hated symbol of his time and says, if you're going to follow me, take up your cross daily and let's go. Be ready for humility. Be ready for suffering. Be ready to die. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, great theologian, German pastor, resistance leader during Nazi Germany, killed for being a resistance leader, said this: when Christ calls a man to follow him, he calls him to come and die. That is the invitation. Come and die. It should cost us something to follow Jesus. So take up your cross daily means come and die. That's the heavy part of today's lesson. Here's the second part, a little lighter, a little more practical. Take up your cross means everyday surrender. Put that in your notes if you're writing things down. Everyday cross means literally everyday surrender. Take up that cross every day. Paul says it this way: I urge you, in view of God's mercies, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and acceptable to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Everybody look this way. We think worship is coming in this place on Sunday morning and doing this. Now, I love doing this during worship. I mean, if you want some entertainment, come sit with me on the front row. I move, I sing, I kneel, I put my hands up. Anybody who says big white men can't dance doesn't know me. I'm into it. I'm into it, just like you. I love how you were into it. That was very, very cool. Way to go. Like it. But that's not worship. Because I can live like hell Monday through Saturday and walk in here on Sunday morning and do this. Paul says worship is presenting yourself as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. That's worship. That's worship. This part is icing on the cake, but you have to have the cake first. And the cake is the life that we live all week long. The cake is who we are when nobody else is looking. Who we are when it's just us and Jesus. The problem with a living sacrifice is this: it keeps crawling off the altar. Now, we're not Hebrew enough or first century enough to understand sacrificial law, but here's a glimpse. A sacrifice was an animal brought that was killed and given to God. So a living sacrifice is literally a paradox. It's a contradiction. Sacrifice isn't living, sacrifice is dead. But Paul says if you're following Christ, it's a living sacrifice. Here's what I think it means. Being a follower isn't an event, it's a process. Being a follower isn't a one-time decision, it's a lifestyle. I decide to follow Jesus today, and you know what? I'm going to have to decide again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, because that's what it means to follow Jesus. I don't usually have these. I don't typically carry cash. But that's a $100 bill. Went to the bank and got it yesterday. Looks like Monopoly money. It's got crazy colors on it. It's legit. Let's say that your life and my life, we think of it as a $100 bill. And every day, Jesus wants us to come to him and say, Lord, I give you my whole life. Everything I know about me, I give to you. I surrender. I'm all in. And Jesus says, that's awesome. Thank you. I'm going to give it back to you in pennies. I'm going to give it back to you in 10,000 pennies. Now, if you want to know what 10,000 pennies looks like, I was only able to get 5,000. I went to 3 different banks yesterday trying to get $100 in pennies. Nobody keeps pennies anymore. But in case you're interested, $25 in pennies weighs 20 pounds. $100 in pennies weighs 80 pounds. They're scattered out among these 4 buckets. And we give our life to Jesus, our all, our $100. And Jesus says, that's awesome. Thank you. I'm going to give it back to you in pennies. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep 1 penny and give the rest back. Come back. And we'll do it again tomorrow. And the next day, you bring your $99.99 life back, and you lay it on the altar. And Jesus says, that's awesome. I'm going to keep a penny and give it back to you. See you tomorrow. And it's this idea of everyday surrender. What could everyday surrender look like this week in each of our lives? Here's some suggestions. Dying to yourself today may mean that instead of going to lunch one day this week, you go to the nearby soup kitchen and you serve lunch. Maybe everyday surrender this week looks like the next time you're talking with your neighbor, you don't hold back, you just go ahead and talk about Jesus. Maybe everyday surrender this week means you change your vacation plans. I'll never forget when our kids were 13 and 10, and we had a trip to Disney planned while we lived here in Fort Lauderdale, and we canceled it and took them on a mission trip to Peru that was life changing. They still talk about that trip. Maybe everyday surrender this week means that when you get home this afternoon, you walk by that empty bedroom and you say, Jesus, who am I supposed to invite to live there? Is there a friend of mine, recently divorced or recently widowed, that needs to live here? Is there somebody I know that's having a hard time and needs a place to stay? Or maybe everyday surrender means repenting of the one sin that keeps you being a fan instead of a follower of Jesus. I absolutely believe that taking up our cross means that we come and die. I believe that it means everyday surrender. But there's a third thing it means. Here's the good news. I've been waiting to get to this. Taking up your cross means experiencing the life you've always wanted. Oh yeah, the life you've always wanted is on the other side of taking up your cross. My wife, Mary, is just this amazing, intelligent, wise woman. As far as I can tell, she had one moment of stupidity in her life, and that was when she married me. I talked her into it. She said yes. We got married fast. I didn't want her to have a chance to back out. She's sitting right over there going, that's right. That's right. That's what I did. She's just this wise woman. She's traveled the globe speaking to women's events. And we have these things in the Sutherland family that we call Maryisms. Now, a Maryism is a wisdom statement that she has said so many times that we just give her credit for it. Now, most Maryisms actually were stolen from somebody else. You see, the way wisdom sayings work is you hear a really wise saying and you take it and you make it your own and you live it and you do it often enough that when you claim it, everybody goes, oh, that's just a Danism, that's just a Maryism, that's just a Kellyism. That fits. She's got a bunch of Maryisms. Here's one that I am tired of hearing because it's so true. She says, the hardest part of the Christian life is it's so daily. Isn't that the truth? I mean, I could get it all straight on Sunday, but Monday's coming. And if I manage to get it right on Monday, Tuesday is here. And if I get through 2 days, dang, hump day's coming along. And how do any of us keep our stuff straight on the weekend? And wow, you walk with Jesus for a week and then you got to start over on week 2. I mean, the challenge of this Christian life thing is just so daily. But here's what's on the other side of taking up your cross daily. The life you've always wanted. A better life. A fuller life. Let's go back to what Jesus said. By the way, American Christians, American Christ followers, tend to be what I call pick and choose theologians. We pick the verses we like and we don't read the verse before or after it. Or we pick a truth that we like, but we don't consider where it fits into the greater scheme of things. And since this verse is in all 4 Gospels, we've heard it, and we might pick it. If anyone would come after me, deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. But look at what Jesus said in the next verse. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will save it. Don't miss this, church. The harder you and I try to hang on to the little bit of life we've got, the greater the chance we lose it. It's called control. Here's the Danism. Are you ready? Not a Maryism, a Danism. Control is an illusion. There is none. Anybody here parenting a teenager that think you have control? Anybody? Anybody here been married more than 5 minutes that thinks you're in charge? Anybody got a boss that thinks you have control? Anybody been through a health crisis that reminds you there's no such thing as control? We make this effort to be careful with our lives because we want to hang on to it, and in the process, we lose the very thing we're trying to control. Whoever goes for it, whoever follows Jesus, whoever takes up their cross daily, that person finds the life they've been looking for. When we give up our lives in order to follow Jesus, to serve others, to serve Him, then we actually save our lives. When you give up your life for Jesus, you find it. But when I cling to my life, I lose the very thing I cling to. Jim Elliot was a missionary to some indigenous tribes in Latin America that were dangerous people to try to reach. He knew before he gave his life to it. And a few months before he was killed by the indigenous people he was living among and trying to reach, he wrote these words: "He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." Wow. All 4 gospel writers included this saying of Jesus because they wanted us to hear, take up your cross means come and die. Take up your cross means everyday surrender. But take up your cross also means get ready to find the life you've always wanted. We follow Jesus one day at a time, one decision at a time. On December 1st of 1973, a young lady who was my interim youth pastor led me to Christ while I was a senior in high school. I married her a few years later. That's a story for another day. But I am grateful that I came to Jesus full speed. I just jumped in. And in 49 years, I don't have a regret. He's worth following. I'm not a fan. I'm a follower. The band is back up because they're going to play a song in a moment, but here's what's going to happen, different than most days. If you're ready to say today, Jesus, I'm bringing my $100 life and I'm putting it at the altar. And I know you're going to give me back 10,000 pennies and tell me to come back tomorrow. But Jesus, I'm telling you, I'll come back tomorrow. And I'll come back the day after.